All right, so let's start with some breaking inputs that have just come in, where India has now recorded its deadliest day of the outbreak in the last 24 hours. And this, of course, is by a big margin. In just the last 24 hours, as many as 4,000 new cases of the COVID-19 infection have been reported from across the country, with 195 fatalities. Now, this is the first time that India has recorded more than 100 deaths in a single day. And for more of this, we are joined in by our senior political affairs editor, Karthikeya Sharma, who is joining us on this broadcast. Good morning to you, Karthikeya. This is rather some disconcerting bit of information that has come in, where India has now recorded almost as much as 4,000 cases of COVID-19 infections in just the last 24 hours.
This is disconcerting for the simple reason that it has happened a day after when the lockdown has been relaxed in various parts of the country. Though the nation has been India has been divided into three parts, and the zones had been strictly monitored over a period of time. But it just goes on to show that coming out of a lockdown remains a bigger challenge than the implementation of the lockdown. Implementation of the lockdown slows down the economy, and that's the big challenge because people lose livelihood. But if you come out of the lockdown and if the number increases, then what you end up doing is that you create a second wave, which we have witnessed in Singapore, or which the other economies in Southeast Asia are bracing themselves for it. Or, for example, what we witnessed in the United States of America, that they could not even contain the first surge. So India that way goes, is a telling example right now that the surge which was witnessed yesterday, towns after towns, in the front of the liquor shops, the social distancing norms were completely given away, may have created a bigger problem for the both central government in India and the state governments.
Absolutely. Now, Karthikeya, the point that you made is, of course, very crucial. The fact as to what we witnessed yesterday in front of liquor shops as soon as these lockdown guidelines were relaxed. Now, should the government be looking at perhaps more innovative ways, in many ways trying to come up with, solutions and looking at things where, trying to predict how people may behave in a certain situation as they go about easing lockdowns? For instance, people have suggested, could the government have announced that in cases of alcohol, home delivery could have been practiced, which may have resulted in people not queuing up outside of liquor shops?
I think what is really required here is that, we do not end up with a second wave. And what is really required is that the people maintain social distancing and they're aware of the fact that, lockdown is not one-time thing. Various countries abroad have gone through series of lockdown, which is lockdown 1, lockdown 2. And the politicization of the lockdown should not happen. Today's data is extremely worrisome in the sense because we have seen that there's a doubling rate, which means that India has not seen the proper surge. And if wonder of data or wonder of relaxation can create a data like this, then we can imagine what may happen over a period of time, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. I think it's something which various state government must ponder upon.
And also, just before I let you go very quickly, Karthikeya, the fact is that India is also now allowing these migrant laborers to go back to their hometowns, to their villages in these special trains that India is arranging. But considering that most of these hotspots continue to be in the big cities, do you think that perhaps we are jumping the gun by letting the migrant laborers to go back to their villages at this juncture?
See, this episode is not only about the migrant laborers who are going back to their villages. We will be getting a lot of stranded Indians from abroad, which is running into lakhs and lakhs of people, and they will be quarantined for next 14 days. So we are actually, both domestically and in context of international movement, looking for a lot of people who are going to come back to their natal places. It's not about migrant laborers. It is about Indians stranded in UAE, United States of America, Singapore, other parts of the world. So, we are looking at, again, movement of people and then they're settling for next 14 days. So, May is a very critical month for India.
Absolutely, indeed. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed, Karthikeya Sharma, for joining us and getting us all those updates in terms of what is happening, because this, of course, is rather disconcerting, especially for the policymakers who will be looking at the data very closely. As many as about 4,000 cases of infections have been detected. Just remember, yesterday, a jump of about 2,500 cases had been recorded. And today's surge is an unprecedented one, and it clearly points to an uptick in the curve in the number of infections. The bar graph on your screens shows the surge in the number of cases and deaths in the last 4 days, and India has recorded one of its worst weeks since the pandemic broke out in early March. And this also comes at a time when India has entered into its third phase of the lockdown and measures are slowly starting to be eased.